Hello again, everyone, and welcome back to another episode, a very special episode of On the Range podcast with Hogg Tactical and Kelley Defense. I am one of your hosts, Mark Kelley from KelleyDefense.com, and joining me, as always, is my co-host and friend from Warhog.com, Rick Hogg. How's it going, buddy?
Man, Mark, it's going great. I just want to thank you, the viewer listener out there, for giving us your most precious commodity, your time to tune in. Guys, we couldn't do without you. Here's the thing. We need a little help. Uh, Whatever platform you're listening to, however you're consuming this, please leave us a rating review. Make sure you subscribe to the show. That's the only way we're going to beat this big tech algorithm that has us censored like nobody's business. Here's the thing, guys. It's been a little bit since we've had any comments out there. So you stick a comment out there, trust me, we'll find it. We'll sit there. We'll make you famous on the Range podcast. Since you guys are out there surfing the interwebs, do us a huge favor. Swing by warhog.com, KelleyDefense.com, and On the Range podcast. Sign up for those newsletters. Trust me, we'll not inundate you with a bunch of junk because you're looking at the multimedia team for the website, the podcast, the email list. So yeah, we'll send you pertinent data when it's necessary. Here's the other thing. We've also got, our crew membership. The beauty with the crew membership is you guys get exclusive content behind the scenes. The only way to do that is swing by one of those sites, sign up for free, right? So we do a bi-monthly Zoom call with me and Mark. You want to talk about your firearm stuff, you want to talk about whatever, dude, it's interactive. We have a conversation. We try to make you that 1% better every single day. And as always, we will talk about the firearms training notebook. You got to make sure you guys have a plan for your firearms training. If you're just going to the range, making some noise, you're just wasting time and wasting money. The firearms training notebook is a way that you can extrapolate that important shooting data. So you can actually sit there and take a look going, hey man, where's those areas that I need to improve on? And then take that back to your dry fire training just to make yourself that 1% better every single day in your marksmanship journey.
Yeah, wherever you are, thank you for making us part of your day. It's a good time for you to be joining in because we have a fantastic show. We're going to introduce our special guest here in one moment. Just one more piece of housekeeping. Make sure you check out if you're near Atlanta, Georgia, April 24th through the 27th, On the Range podcast will be there. And we'll put some more details out on the website. Just go to ontherangepodcast.com. But we got a fantastic guest today, Rick. You want to go ahead and let the folks know what they're about ready to get into?
Absolutely, buddy. Hey, guys. So our guest for today's episode is Congressman Wesley Hunt from Texas 38. He is a Army veteran, i.e. an Apache pilot. So I'm sure you probably helped us out there at some point. We'll probably share some more stories here shortly. But really, you've been appointed by President Trump to the West Point Board of Visitors. Could you tell us a little bit more about that, Congressman?
Oh,
and welcome
sure.
to the show. Welcome to the show. I kind of jumped around here. Welcome to the show. Thank you for your service, both military and for what you're doing up there on the Hill.
Well, thank you guys for having me on. And just real quick, West Point is near and dear to my heart. My dad's a retired lieutenant colonel. My sister went to West Point, my family first. West Point class of 93. I went to West Point second in my family, class of 2004. My brother is also a West Point graduate. He's class of 2005. So all three of us went to West Point. There's 60 years worth of military service just in my immediate family.
Wow.
So when President Trump, gave me a phone call a couple of weeks ago and said, you know what, Wesley, you got West Point. I said, wow. I said, wow, like what an honor, and it's really cool, to be a United States congressman 20 years after I graduated, almost to the year, and to have the honor to serve on that board, to help guide the future leaders of this country, to help kind of shape and to help kind of shift the emphasis on war fighting, emphasis being war and fighting, United States Military Academy, emphasis on military. How do we get back down to brass tacks? And that's how do we create the most lethal force to destroy our enemies with extreme prejudice? That's the only thing that we care about. And so I think a lot of times you're hearing a lot about the DEI stuff and the transgender stuff and all that. Look, when I was going through West Point, when my sister went through West Point, when my brother went through West Point, none of that existed. The only thing that existed was, are you going to meet the standard or not? And regardless of what you look like, regardless of where you're from, regardless of where you're from, how do you meet the standard? And I think that's what I'm going to try to bring to this board, especially in our first meeting coming up here in the next few months.
Wow.
So what does the board exactly do? Are you just kind of an
Yeah.
advisor to the academy then?
That's exactly what we do. We meet
Okay.
quarterly. We're an advisor to the academy. We talk about, kind of the state of affairs at the academy, the curriculum, the training moving forward. We add our input based on what we hear throughout the community. I've been sent a few letters already for me to take to the first board meeting saying, Wesley, like, would you look at this, and this? I'm going to be happy to do it. Just kind of take input. And again, I'm a post 9/11 guy. I'm relatively young being on this board. And so, to be somebody that has been in war in the not so distant future, juxtaposed to a lot of the older guys, no shade to the other guys, but I think it's time for some new blood to figure out, how can we see the military of the future adapt to what we saw over the course of the past 20 years, and then also make sure that our training reflects what's coming up in the not so distant future. And lastly, I'll say this: as a congressman, as somebody that makes policy that's going to actually dictate how we war fight, dictates where the money goes, and how we fund our military. It's really important, I think, for me to be on this board to have that kind of direct input.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Now, are you seeing, and I don't know if you have anything to do with the applicants, and I want to kind of ask you here in a minute about the application process, but are you guys seeing kind of the society has gotten a little soft than what we were used to, or what we kind of grew up as?
You're being very nice.
Well, I'm trying,
soft is a word. Yeah, soft is a word. Yeah.
Soft is, we'll call them soft, right?
Yeah. Yes, very
thin skinned, all the things
sensitive.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
Stuck with a phone in their hand, care more about what's going on with social than actual real world. How much of an impact do you see in that, or have you had that opportunity to see that at the academy?
Well, one of the neatest things that I get to do as a congressman is every single cadet at West Point has to have a congressional nomination. So I have the honor of my team has the honor of actually interviewing these young people, seeing their resume, seeing their passion. We have an in-person interview, and then I get to appoint the best of the best and the cream of the crop to the academies. And I will tell you, I've been doing this job for the last 2 years. We've gotten through 2 classes, and I'm very impressed with the young people that are submitting their lives to the academy. I got to admit, they are very impressive. Now, the issue is that now when we get there, I don't want our academies to lessen our standards, or to be so sensitive, or to be so soft. As an Apache driver, the one thing that you do is you go to combat to find bad guys and turn them into salsa. That's the whole point. There is no room for sensitivity. You have to be the person to find the enemy, engage them, and kill them. That's what the government's going to ask you to do if you want to be a war fighter. Now, I am very adamant about that, because as you just so put it, like when we were growing up, that's the language that we spoke. We're very good at our job. That's what we focused on. I feel like we start to get away from those sentiments. We start talking about DEI and race and promoting and hiring and bringing kids in just based on the way they look. I want based kids that want to serve this country. Now, I do a pretty good job on screening these kids out of my office. Can I say the same for every other congressman in the entire country? Probably not. And so that's kind of the influence that I want to continue to push on. We want young people that want to serve. And I will tell you this, the last couple of months, our recruiting numbers are up, which is awesome. I mean, in December, January, and February, our recruiting numbers in the Army are up. And quite frankly, I love hearing that. And what I don't want to hear is they're up because white men are doing it, or because we're seeing a spike in Hispanics or a spike in Black people. I want to see our numbers up with badass young people that want to serve this country. End of discussion. That's it. And I think if we focus on that, what you're going to find out is everybody's going to come to the yard. All races, all religions, all creeds, all people that love this country are going to show up, like I did 20 years ago. I don't care. I've been Black for a really long time, if you haven't noticed, right? And I remember being at West Point, brother, and like nobody cared. Like this was not a thing. We weren't talking about race. We were talking about, what are your marks? How do you do? What do you want to fly? Did you get out of flight school? You're going to go to war. Did you pass the course? Did you meet the standard? That's it. Let's get back to that.
Right. And you made a good point about other district congressmen maybe not doing quite as good job vetting these folks, but the standard takes care of that, like you said. And no one better than you to make sure that that's being held, because it sounds like the DOD is doing the same.
Oh, yeah.
Recruiting numbers, for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
They're getting after it with recruiting.
For sure.
I'm sorry, Rick. I didn't mean to jump in
No,
there.
you were good. I just wanted to elaborate one point. You know, the thing that people don't seem to get with the military is your eyes are green, right? We are all Americans.
Yes.
Nobody cares, you know, race, religion, any of that other stuff. Hey, man, are you up to the standard to save my life?
Yes.
Because we're going to go to war. That's the bottom line. And
Yes.
if you're not, hey, man, nothing personal. Either you step up to the plate or you go find another job somewhere else, or this isn't the job for you.
You are correct.
So
Yeah.
it's a very unique job where you're signing up for a job that can potentially kill you.
That's correct.
You want to make sure that, you know, your
About,
brothers
you don't have
right.
to do it. It's volunteer. You don't have to do it.
No,
That's right.
no, but there's no greater reward than
Correct.
serving this country.
Agreed.
And
Agreed.
if we could just get that message to the next generation, and there's some people that they're looking to escape garbage households, relationships, whatever the case may be, go join the military.
Right.
You want to start life off right? I mean, I think we all can tell huge things the military have done for us. So
Yes. Agreed.
people just need to take that message and run with it. You know, go find your recruiter. Go to the Army. Don't be going to those other crayon.
And don't go to Navy and
No.
Marines. God, yeah.
So,
Never go there.
Congressman, the West Point thing is fantastic. It's right up your alley, I can tell. Now, I also noticed that are you still on the Judiciary Committee?
I most certainly am. Yes.
And I know that's kind of a big thing right now with all this district judges and things like that. What's that like in being some of those committee meetings?
You know, funny you should bring this up. I literally just walked out of a hearing and testified on this very thing.
Okay.
And the point that I was making was this: President Trump was given a mandate. 77 million people voted for this man. We won every single swing state. He had a clear electoral college victory. 88% of all precincts shifted Republican. This was a mandate given by the American people to re-elect President Trump. One of the second time in American history where we had a guy that was president, and then we had a guy that was asleep at the wheel, and then people wanted people wanted the other guy back, and
Right.
overwhelmingly elected him. So then you have one crazy judge that's stopping progress. And President Trump won because he vowed to keep Americans safe, to find the animals in this country with Tom Homan, round them up, and get them the hell out of our country. End of discussion. The professorial approach that Democrats are taking and how pedantic they are getting about this, and literally pole vaulting over mouse turds to figure out how Trinidad Aragua is a good idea to have in this country, and how we're going to support MS-13 because we found one guy that may or may not have committed a crime, is ridiculous. We have people that are terrorizing the American public, and President Trump is getting them out of here. End of discussion. What I love about the hearing that I just came out of is I basically said what I just told you. And then my Democrat colleague gets to go. And I love the contrast because these people are doubling down on stupid.
Oh, yeah.
They're doubling down on stupid. And the American public is looking at what somebody like me would just say, listen to a Democrat, and then they say, well, they just didn't learn their lesson. Now, did they? It is our job as a federal government, as a federal employee, as a United States congressman, as President Trump's number one job is to keep us safe. That's exactly what he's doing, and the American public loves it.
Yeah, for sure.
Let me ask you this, Congressman. What do you think the deal is with the Dems? Because, you know, you look at when President Trump gave his speech, was it last month? They're all sitting there wearing pink going, oh yeah, we support women's rights.
Yeah, right.
But won't stand up for a woman that lost her law enforcement, you know, officer husband.
Right.
Won't stand up for a poor boy that's been battling brain cancer. Vote
Yeah,
against Laken Riley, right? Want dudes in chick sports, right? I try to wrap my head around this and go, what are they doing? I mean, can you get any sense of what garbage these people are trying to do or pull off? Or,
you know, one of my first NCOs that I ever had when I was deployed to Iraq said, you know, we had a specialist that just didn't want to do the right thing, and he said, you know, Captain Hunt, you just can't polish a turd, no matter how hard you try.
Yeah,
you just can't polish a turd.
Oh man!
And these people cannot be polished. They cannot understand the fact that there's a difference between a man and a woman. One of the craziest things I saw this year was the president invited me down to the White House when he did the executive order to stop grown-ass men from participating in sports against women. And President Trump said this, and I love it. He goes, I can't believe I'm doing this. I can't believe I have
Right.
to sign an executive order over something that is this obvious. That's where they are. If we are dealing with people that can't tell you the difference between a man and a woman, we for damn sure are dealing with people that have absolutely no moral truths and no intellectual curiosity to actually dictate how policy is going to help America in the future if you can understand just that very simple point. And so I hope they continue to do this, because what they are revealing is that they have no leader. And if aliens came down tomorrow and they came to the Republican Party and they said, Republicans, take us to your leader, we know who's in charge. You know exactly where we are going. 1600 Pennsylvania, and that man is sitting in his desk right now, probably eating McDonald's and signing executive orders. You know exactly what he's doing. If aliens came down and said it told Democrats, take us to your leader, where are they going to go?
Yeah.
Where are they going to go? These people are rudderless. They have no leader. And that's exactly why we are where we are. They are where they are. We have a void of leadership. This is what happens. We are doing so well because we finally have a strong leader. And whether you like him or not, I personally love the man. But if you like him or not, at least you know who's in charge. And we're military guys. When you're in charge, be in charge.
Yeah. Yeah. And he's absolutely running with it. But, Rick and I always say we never want to interrupt our enemy while they're making mistakes.
Right.
We're just simply, we're shocked that we're not seeing any self-reflection at all. I mean, we thought that the media would do it. They're not doing it. And these are Democratic leaders as well. They are not self-reflecting at all. They're just doubling down on just being opposition to what the president's doing. And I'm sure you're seeing that every time you go to those judiciary committees.
And I will add to that too. You're absolutely right. I see it every single day. I see it online. I see it in my colleagues. Trump derangement syndrome is serious. It's real. You bring up a very good point. President Trump, in his address to Congress, had a cancer patient there. Yeah. These people couldn't stand up and clap for a cancer patient, a kid that got a nomination to West Point that he announced live in front of the world. They can't clap for that. They hate President Trump so much. They hate President Trump more than they love our country. It's disgusting. It's disgusting. And again, the midterms are coming. We have roughly 18 months until we're going to have a midterm. And traditionally, the party that wins the presidential election and a presidential year tends to lose the House.
That's right.
2 years later. I tell you what, if they keep getting stuck on stupid, we're going to have a very good midterm for the Republican Party, and I pray they keep it up. But again, this goes y'all have been in units before where you have seen poor leadership. When there is when there's a vacuum for leadership, when a unit is rudderless, then there's nowhere to go. And by the way, you've had leaders that you didn't like, you've had leaders that you didn't agree with, but you've had leaders you didn't like or agree with, but you knew they were in charge.
Right.
That is such a very serious point that I'm trying to drive home. We know who's in charge, and that's why we have a concise message, and we're all rowing in the same direction. They are rowing in different directions because they have no leadership.
Yeah, and you bring up great points with that. The one thing I wanted to hit on is I personally think President Trump listens to On the Range podcast, and here's why.
Because of course he listens to a lot.
We say this a lot. We say this a lot on the show. He made a mention during his speech. He didn't say my presidency. He said our presidency.
Yeah.
And too many times, at least for me sitting back, I watch the Dems sitting there. It looks like they're voting for their own personal accord.
Yeah.
I just wanted to ask you, how do you kind of stay in contact with your constituents? How can your constituents get in contact with you? How do you make sure there's that balance of communication that you're kind of toting the constituent, line up there?
So I refuse to become a swamp creature, period. Refuse. I will not become a DC swamp creature. I have a 6-year-old, I have a 4-year-old, and I have a 2-year-old. 6-year-old daughter, 4-year-old daughter, 2-year-old little boy. Last year, I flew on 130 flights. I never spent a weekend in DC. That reason is twofold. Number one, my family is the most important thing to my life. My children are the most important. Those 3 children are the most important things to my soul and to my future. I love them more than you could ever imagine. The other thing is this: I have to go back home every weekend and look the people in my district in the face every single weekend, and they will let me know what they think. And when you look at guys like me that go home every weekend, that don't stay up, that don't spend weekends up here, go to every single dinner, every single cocktail party, sit around and tell each other how great they are all day, every day, and pontificate about days gone by and not doing anything for the American public, that's how you lose touch. So again, it's my proximity to my district. I was born and raised in Houston. All three of my children are born in Houston. They will be raised in Houston. I'm going to die in Houston. So guess what? I better leave that place better than I found it. And if you have those principles, then your constituents will tell you how you're doing. We won the last election by 25 points. I think my driving is doing pretty well. But again, I want that number to be at 30 during the next election cycle. But the whole point is staying close to the people that put you here in the first place. I work for them, not the other way around.
You know, Texas, I remember when everybody started fleeing the West and coming into Texas and Austin and all these other places, there's this big concern about, you know, Texas shifting to blue. I mean, I was looking at a map of the country, and Texas, I mean, is convincingly red now.
Yeah.
It's not even close.
Overwhelmingly red. Yeah, Texas and Florida.
Do you see any truth to that, where they were trying to, you know, bring in these votes? And I know there's something going on in Wisconsin about the redistricting and stuff like that. Yeah. Is that a real concern, even though we see all these maps?
You know, I think you know, Democrats are oftentimes they're some of the most racist people I've ever met in my entire life. Especially the educated liberal white woman is horrible. Like these people are the most racist people I've ever seen, because they look at black and brown people and they just assume automatically that if you give this group something, then they're going to vote Democrat. Right. They think that these people can't live for themselves. They think that we can't get an ID to vote. Like that's how they think about us. So I think what they're doing is just they're making an estimation here. If we flood our country with black and brown people or brown people at this point, then they're going to vote for Democrats. So here's what happens. People move into this country, they go to Texas, and they like freedom. They like being able to work, right? They don't want to live in California. They don't want to live in New York. They're like, yo, Texas is all right with me, but Texas is a red state. So why in God's name would I vote for a Democrat and give away all my freedom? There's been a mass exodus to Texas and Florida from New York and California. Texas is poised to get 4 more electoral college votes. 4.
That's great.
Which is unbelievable. And how is this happening? If you live in like a 2,000 square foot bungalow off the coast in California that costs you $3 million, and then you move to the suburbs of Houston in my district and live in a palatial estate, you're like, okay, this is way better than that, right? There are people defecating in the streets. Like, crime is lower out here in the suburbs. This is God's country. I want more of this. And even though they might be a little socially more liberal coming from California, they still are fleeing tyranny. They are fleeing Gavin Newsom. They are fleeing the left. And so they come to Texas, and you know what? Most Californians are voting Republican.
Yeah.
You look at the Hispanic population that's scoring, specifically Hispanic men. We are making so much progress with Hispanic men. Why? Because we tell it like it is. Men are men and women are women. We don't want you to pay a buttload of taxes. If you work hard, you could actually become somebody in this. We don't like crime. These are all good, hardcore family values. 1 in 3 black men in Texas voted for President Trump. Did you know that? 1 in 3. That is a record. It's amazing. And you know why? Because we are done with the identity politics. We are done with assuming that because you're black or brown, you can't think for yourself. And what we love is saying, if you like freedom, if you like more money in your pocket, and if you want to feel safer, and if you want to raise your family, well, then come to Texas. Right. I feel like Suge Knight, right? Like the Sorceress. Like, if you don't like to dance in the videos, then come to death row, right? I feel like if you like these things, come to Florida, come to Texas, and that's exactly what's happening.
Wow.
Yeah, and I don't know if you guys have done it in Texas. I know Florida has, because I'm in and out of there all the time, but it says on their sign as you're crossing that state line, "Welcome to free Florida."
Yeah, right.
I mean,
how subliminal of them, right?
Oh man, that's
awesome. Congressman, the big thing that I also see a lot of is we inadvertently put divide into our country. We are all, the title is Americans, right?
Yeah.
I just wish we could sit there and somehow get this message across the entire country. Quit putting all these little subsets in there. Hey, we want the best Americans we can be. We want to give people the most opportunity we can. And together as Americans, I mean, we've proven it time and time again. We are the greatest country in the world. We have the greatest people. and there's nothing given the opportunity that we can't accomplish.
Yeah.
But when you flood this country with, and I don't even know what the number is. I've heard anything from 11 to 21. God knows how many illegals in
Too
there.
many, regardless, it's too many.
Regardless of the number, right? There shouldn't be any, because again, it's a federal crime to come in this country illegally. If you want to sit there and roll the dice, and I'd love to have the Dems, hey, go to China, make an illegal border crossing there. Let me know how that works out for you. You know, it's like,
Yeah.
But my whole point is, we're seeing the shift in this country back to greatness. We're seeing the shift back for people to have opportunity.
Yeah.
What do you see, or what do you think might be the next hurdles potentially coming up, for both yourself, the administration, and to the American people?
So my message to the American people is you got to let President Trump cook. Let the man cook. Stay out the kitchen. Let the man cook. It's going to take some time. We have to right the ills of 4 years of a disaster of an administration. President Trump wants to keep us safe. He wants to secure the border. The man did that literally in like 2 weeks with like the stroke of a pen, and the border issue is fixed. The reason why he is imposing these tariffs on these foreign countries is because for decades, they've been ripping us off. We have operated in a trade deficit for decades. So what if we get back to net zero? What if we get back to +5 or +10%? Then we're operating in the best interest of the American public. But in order to make an omelet, you got to crack a few eggs. It's going to be tough. It's going to be hard. But guess what? When he is done, we get the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act extended here in probably late summer. We get our economy back. We get inflation in line. He's done negotiating with the tariffs. Guess what? By Q4 of this year, this country could be in some of the best economic status that we have seen in decades. But in order to get that, you gotta toughen up. And again, I love talking to military guys. Pressure makes diamonds. You don't get better unless you train, and training sucks. It's not immediate gratification. You got to work hard. You got to make some sacrifices, and then in the long run, it's going to work. President Trump in 4 years has to break a leviathan in a swamp that has been anti-American for decades, that have been pandering to special interests for decades. Let the man cook. We're going to be just fine.
Right.
I like it.
I think that's a real big piece, is just you trusted him enough to elect him overwhelmingly. Just give him a chance and let him do his magic. And
Correct.
Like you said, he fixed the border. There's no reason why you shouldn't believe he's going to fix these other things as well. He's doing a fantastic job. And folks like you up there, got his back and talking about standards and all those other things. Buddy, I can tell you, we longed for that over these last 4 years. Standards was something that just wasn't existent.
I know.
And now they're back.
Yes, thank God.
Yeah.
Congressman, what do you think of the chances are of the income tax being repealed? Think that's feasible?
That's going to be tough. I remember speaking with Howard Lutnick about this a couple of months ago, right before the election. I mean, that's actually his goal. But if that's a goal and we come up a little bit short of that, I'll take it. Right. It's the reason why we're imposing a 25% tariff on all vehicle imports. Do we land at 25%? Maybe not. What if we get 5%? What if we're no longer in a trade deficit? So again, the goal is to get there. That's actually what Howard Lutnick wants to do. I mean, could you imagine other countries paying the taxes for us like we used to do 100 years ago? Novel idea. But why do we get away from that? Because of special interests that are far less concerned with the need of the average American and far more concerned with special interests. It's just really that simple. So if that's the goal, and if we could get President Trump and get Howard Lutnick and get us headed in that direction, imagine where we can end up. And my guess is we've won with President Trump. We win again in 2028. Now we have an 8-year runway to start to head to that direction. And again, I would much rather other countries that are ripping us off, that are eating and living off of the average American that is supplying the world with just about everything. How come we are paying the lion's share of everything? It's ridiculous, and that's the hope.
Yeah, I think it was a big eye opener for a lot of folks. Rick said it earlier in pre-production, how much money we're actually spending on these things that in many cases are not aligned with the interest of the United States, for the UN and all that stuff, and subsidizing Canada and these kind of things.
Yes.
They're okay with those things being put in place after World War I and II to rebuild Europe and help them out with the tariffs. Fair enough. That was a long time ago.
It's a long time ago.
But
That's
they're not
generations
okay
ago.
with the
What
they're not
happened?
okay with the Invasion Act, you know.
Yeah.
when
Yeah.
we wanna
Right.
use that. So
Right.
it's funny
Right.
to watch. It's a lot of fun to watch.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
I know you're short on time. What do you think is going to be the best way for your constituents to kind of follow what you're doing? Is it the website?
It's the website, and our handles is Wesley Hunt TX. My website is wesleyfortexas.com. All my handles are on there as well. And again, I'm not hard to find. I feel like Deion Sanders. I ain't hard to find. Right? Like I really am not hard to
Prime
find.
time, yeah.
Like I love that
Yeah.
shirt. I
So that is
ain't hard to
awesome.
find. So I think we've done a very good job on amplifying our message via social media. I have the best team in the entire country. I have the best comms director in the entire country that's worked tirelessly to raise our brand and get it to where it is right now. We're going to continue to fight for the American public. That's my brand. But I do want to tell you this one story since we're talking about the academy. President Trump invited me to this last Army Navy game, and I got to sit in a box with him in the presidential suite. And at one point, I'm singing the national anthem. I'm standing next to President Trump and J.D. Vance. And I look over and I was like, this is an unbelievable experience. I mean, I had chicken skin when I was just sitting in this moment thinking 20 years ago, I was on that field at that game. And 20 years later, here I am. And
Wow.
President Trump, and I'll tell you this, President Trump, before he got elected to a second term, is at the Army-Navy game supporting those that are willing to die for this country. Do you know Joe Biden or Kamala Harris did not go to an Army-Navy game for the 4 years that he was in the presidency? And this man does it before he gets elected to a second term. That is the difference between leadership and those that care about the sons and daughters in this nation that want to continue to fight for her, and the difference between those that want that and don't.
Yeah. 100%.
Hey, Congressman, I want to bring up one point since you kind of stirred the whole social media nest there a little bit. What is, whether it's Congress, the administration gonna do? So for a prime example, we've been zucked umpteen gazillion times trying to promote law enforcement training. Everything is censored, especially on those meta platforms. Thank God for Elon, taking over Twitter and making X only place for free speech. But do you guys have any plans to address Mr. Zuckerberg and his censorship that he has going on? Because in my opinion, when he took guidance from the Biden administration, what to put out, he became an aid to the state. Therefore, he falls under constitutional law. I don't know if there's any repercussions, but I know it's very hard for a veteran-owned small business to try to promote on social when you get violations, or let me rephrase, his violations all the time.
We're working on that. And if you watch the inauguration, Zuck was sitting right behind the president.
Yeah.
So, which is shocking, given what they have done to suppress conservative voices and small businesses like yours. So again, this is going to take some time. Even with our accounts, we have seen this ebb and flow, right? And these ups and downs, these highs and lows. And it's not free and fair speech. I mean, where you see free and fair speech, ironically enough, on TikTok. And you see it ironically enough on X or TikTok of all things, that's when you see it like free and fair speech where good content just gets rewarded because it's good. And the algo picks it up and it does a very good job on promoting what does well and what people want to see. They're not picking winners and losers. People have the opportunity to freely opt in to the messaging that they want to see. So has it gotten better? I will tell you, it has gotten better. Is it where it should be? Absolutely not. Trust me, we are well aware and we're going to keep working it.
Okay. Awesome.
Yeah. There's a lot of things about the free speech stuff that I see with the Dems as well. For example, I saw a great analogy. If you say something to a Democrat, well, that's violence. When they burn down a Tesla, that's protest.
Yeah, it's protest, right? Peaceful. It's peaceful protest.
It's a sign of peaceful protest. So I know we were talking about this pre-production too, Rick, but do we not care about the environment anymore? So we don't like electric vehicles now? Is that what the deal is? Have you ever said anything like that passing one of your Democratic colleagues?
It's the damnedest thing I've ever seen in my life. You have Democrats that are buying Teslas like hotcakes. And then now all of a sudden, it's the worst vehicle on the road. I got to tell you, it's like when I say rudderless and these people have no leader, that is, how about this? If you don't like Elon Musk or if you don't like, just don't buy a Tesla.
Right.
But blowing things up is ridiculous. Like our response to Budweiser was what?
Don't buy it.
I'm not buying Budweiser. I'm not
Right.
drinking Budweiser. Right. I'm an alpha dude, and I respect my masculinity, and you will not see me caught dead with a Budweiser. That's
Right.
it. Right. That's how we roll. We didn't go burn down Budweiser plants.
Right.
I mean, as far Kid Rock did take his AR though and shoot the cans, but again, he bought the Budweiser and then he shot the can, so it's totally different. That he shot his own beer, right? So it's totally different. He already paid for it. The point I'm making is like that's the difference between liberal logic and conservative logic, and the world is paying. I always tell people this, man. Like the world is paying attention to this. Like everyone knows that liberal neighbor that we had that was browbeating everyone into buying a Tesla. It was the Libmobile, and then now all of a sudden they're burning them down. You're like, bro, you were just talking about how badass your Tesla was and how clean you are, and then now all of a sudden it's a bad idea. I say keep it up.
Yeah, because if Biden would have had a Tesla on the front lawn, they'd be like, "Oh, he cares about the environment," you know. And then Mark Kelley, he went out and bought like a V8 gas guzzler.
So right, you're so right. Up is down and down is up with these people.
Oh, it's so much fun to watch, though. God,
it is fun.
Yeah. Well, we really appreciate you being here. I know you got to go do your vote, and you know, can you tell us what you're voting on today?
Actually, I'm going to go look at it right now. I got it in about an hour, and usually I take time to research right before I go. I don't have it with me right now, but but I will get smart on it.
Do you have a little bit more time, or are you kind of pinched?
I got to run. I do have to run.
Okay.
I got one final question for you, and this is for our veterans out there. What one piece of advice do you have for a transitioning service member going from the military into civilian life?
The one piece of advice that I will have is you need to understand that the civilian sector is not the military. It's a very different place. There are opportunities abound, but you're going to have to understand that the environment is not what you're used to. The camaraderie is not what you're used to. That bond is not going to be there. Now, I will say this, the very principles and the very values that made you who you were when you tried to serve this great nation, you take those principles into the private sector and you will be successful. But you got to manage your expectations. It's not going to be like it was in the military, but make sure you keep those principles: hard work, grit, determination, a meritocracy, beating the standard. You take those things with you and you will be successful in the civilian sector.
Awesome.
100%.
Congressman, greatly appreciate your time.
Thanks, guys.
Again,
appreciate
your service. You're welcome back anytime. So have your scheduler reach out if you want to get on the show. You have a fantastic setup there. So would love to have you back on.
Thank you, brother. God bless y'all. Thank you for having me on. Appreciate it.
Yes,
beat Navy.
Roger that. Amen. Oh, man. What a great show. What a good show.
Man, fantastic. You know, kind of reminiscing a little bit like we chatted. Hey, who would think, what's it been? 5 years ago, I guess we kicked this thing off 4 years ago.
Yeah.
500 plus episodes. Congressman Wesley Hunt from Texas on there. What a fantastic guest, man. I mean, it just goes to show you right there, guys. You know, the American dream is still alive and well. We've got great Americans up there conveying the message, trying to do God's work. Let me tell you, DC is not, that place. You go up there, it's just dirty, man. Yeah. That's the only way I can put it. All these snakes in the grass trying to wheel money out, and you know we see all the fraud, waste, and abuse. You know, Elon and Doge is all pulling out there. So, old Congressman Hunt, he's one of those great Americans up there working with President Trump, man, to make this country even greater. So, excited to see what he's got going on. But what a fantastic guest, fantastic show.
Yeah, a real treat for us. The first congressman we've had, and man, he was great. It was good to have a man who's chewed some of the same dirt, you know, being in the Army, and it's just been great. But yeah, man, I got to tell you, it doesn't take a whole lot for me to be convinced that he is immune and that he's going to be okay. He's going home every weekend, any chance he gets. He understands, like you and I do, how dirty of a place that can be, and he's just not going to let it happen. And I believe him. I believe
no, 100%. Why hang out there? What are you doing by going to these parties, right? Because I'm going to tell you who's at these parties. The lobbyists are at these parties. So stay away, dude. Them cats, that whole lobby system, man, they're passing bucks back and forth. It's just, again, it's dirty business. So you take yourself out. You're not even around that. Like you said, why do I need to be there? Right. I'm going back to hear what my constituents have to say, bringing that message back, and then boom, voting on it that way. So,
Yeah.
Man, he had some great points with the Dems, man.
Mhm.
Who knows what's going on with them cats?
Yeah.
Lost in this rudderless. I like that.
Yeah. Well, he's a
Yo,
gentleman
brother.
too, because I was trying to get him to say, man, hey, when they pass by, do you throw out stuff at them and kind of, take little verbal jabs at 'em? I don't know if I'd be able to control myself. It's so ridiculous.
Dude, I couldn't imagine
No.
having to be in the same place with those people. It's like, are you on planet Earth?
Yeah.
Hello, McFly. Is anyone in there?
It's amazing.
Well,
Oh.
he brought up a great point, man. I don't think, I think typically you see that shift. I don't think we're going to see it because they continue to stay, on that whatever rudderless ship they're driving, that don't align with the American values. So,
Yeah. And I hope he's right about the midterms, because I can totally see where he's coming from when he says that. He's like, dude, I think we're going to be okay the midterms. Not as long as they keep holding this party line when it comes to the woke stuff. And like you said, dude, they double down on it. It's amazing.
dude,
I'm going to let them keep going with it because it doesn't make sense. Even some of the Dems in the X space are saying, hey, look, protest, yes, but stop blowing stuff up, because it just looks terrible. It's got a terrible optic to it, because you look at that map, Rick, that we were talking about with the congressman, red.
Yeah.
Almost all the counties in the United States voted for Trump.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable.
The thing you have to wonder, and we've seen this in the past, the mindless sheep will just kind of follow and wander just to do it. I wonder if some of these quote unquote protesters that's doing some of these acts of violence aren't paid.
Oh, yeah. I would
You know
say
what
a
I'm saying?
lot of them are. Yeah.
So, and then all of a sudden you get the chuckles that have no sense go, oh, well, if he's burning a Tesla charging station, let me go give that a shot.
Right.
And then, oh, I caught myself on fire. Oh, Lord Jesus, I'm on fire. Right. That's what you get. But I wonder if there wasn't some Dem prodding, to do some things to get some interest going, and then just watch the sheeple do stupid stuff. I mean, it's mind boggling. He brought up a great point, like with the Budweiser when Bud Light came out. Really, dude?
Yeah, we didn't blow up Budweiser trucks.
No. We just said, hey, I'm not buying your stuff.
Right.
Too easy.
Wow.
So I don't know. But the other point I like that he brought up, hey man, let the man cook. Don't be poking in the kitchen. Hey, what you got going on? Wait for dinner to be served.
Yeah. Yep. So. You trusted him to elect him. It's only been 6.5 weeks. Give the man some time. He's going to do fine. Yeah. He fixed that border. He fixed a lot of stuff in that first 6 weeks. It's been unbelievable.
Yeah.
But you know who aren't sheeple? The crew members. So if you're liking this content, go to ontherangepodcast.com and sign up for the crew members. The crew members are a great bunch of like-minded individuals. We have group video calls with Rick and I. We also have access. If you join the all access package, you have access to our training catalogs. And just by chance, if you're going to join the membership, you can join and get special content like they're going to get right after the show. Exclusive content continues. The show continues for the crew members over on the crew members page.
For the rest of you guys, make sure you guys are trained hard, stay safe, and we'll see you on the range.